Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Lori Smith of Blog Talk Radio. It is 6 o'clock here in the morning, Calgary, Alberta, Monday morning, November the 14th. I'm glad to be here. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another. We're on for 30 minutes. It's a live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com, and I'm just drinking some coffee, waking up here, and I have the chat room open. I did pop the link in there to what we're looking at, what we've been checking out for the last couple of weeks, and that's Soul Expressions Abuse Recovery from Becky's website, and www.soul-expressions-abuse-recovery.com. If you just type into your browser Soul Expressions Abuse Recovery, it should come up. And it's a great website, all dealing with mainly child sexual abuse, and whatnot. It's lots of information there about sexual abuse and CSA and whatnot, and the issues that surround it for adult survivors. And Becky, she's a therapist and she's a counselor, and she's been through what we've been through. She's a survivor, and she has lots and lots of great information there. And she's also available to chat. Like, she has a little icon there, a little Bitwine icon, that if you happen to be on, if she happens to be on, and you see that she's online, you can chat with her, right? It's a great resource and a great, like anything out there that's helpful for survivors, I'd like to bring attention to. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I'm not a counselor or therapist myself. I'm not a professional at all. I'm just a private citizen paying to do my shows here on Blog Talk Radio. I'm a survivor myself, and I just wanted to bring out information that I found helpful and sort of talk about my healing journey and sort of what I'm going through, and just to be sort of one more voice out here, really, to raise awareness and to help other survivors to know that, that there is hope and there is help out there. I never believed it myself when I was growing up, that there would be any hope or help, and now, like I've really come a long way in my healing journey. So, but you have to listen at your own discretion to my shows, because I'm talking about abuse, and abuse is a sensitive subject. You have to know what's good for you to listen to, and listen to all of my shows or any of my shows at your own discretion. Young people under the age of 18, I ask that you have permission from an adult, somebody who's older, an adult who can help you make a decision whether or not you should be listening to my shows. Just have them listen to one of my shows, and they can sort of help you make a decision whether it's age appropriate for you, right? So we'll get right into this. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I hope you all had a good weekend. I know that I had a great long weekend and did a whole lot of work, and really did a whole lot of work. Beverly Cyril from Australia, she was on my show not too long ago, last weekend, the weekend before. And we did the show talking about her program, which is Forget Talking Therapy. And it's all about pictures. And her program is really about visualizations and guided imagery, guided visualizations, and setting up and recreating new pictures in our mind's eye. This has been so helpful for me. I actually wrote about it on Facebook. This is now whether it would help you. I'd like to think that it would, but I can't guarantee that, because there's just no way to guarantee something like that. I know that it did help me. It's helped me a lot, and I was already going through the program, the first 4 or 5 steps, with a good friend of mine, Gypsy Witch, who is really like my sister and my friend, and she has been already working with me on this for months and months. And then Beverly, the founder of the program, Forget Talking Therapy, actually finished the last steps with me, and it was amazing. It really is amazing. The difference between where I was before and now, I mean, even in the last 6 months, is huge. And it's a good feeling for sure to be on this side of it. But I know what it's like to be on the other side of this. To be in so much pain and so much suffering and just so much real agony, really, from being abused as a child and having to deal and cope with these traumatic memories and traumatic stuff, which is all stored in the limbic system, which that's what we learned about when Beverly was on the show. She was talking about that, and you can go to her website at www.forgettalkingtherapy.com. If you need the information about Beverly Cyril and her program, get a hold of me. If you can't figure out how to contact her, be sure and get a hold of me, because I know how to contact her, and I'll get you her information. She's she's got a great program there, and like I said, it works for me. So I don't know. Hopefully, it would work for other people too. But I know that it did. I can only say for myself that it did work for me, and it's a wonderful thing. So I want to get into I'm still looking at the inner child healing work. That's what I'm so interested in looking at. And I haven't gone all the way through John Bradshaw's books yet, Healing the Shame That Binds You, as well as Homecoming, Reclaiming and Championing Your Inner Child. And those books are great. Robert Burney has a great book, Codependence and Massive Wounded Souls. We did go through all that. And really good stuff, But I'm still looking at the inner child healing process work. I still have some work to do, I'm not finished by any means. But what it did was, this program, Forget Talking Therapy, what it did was it took away, because I was able to recreate a safe place for myself, my inner children, for all these parts of myself that was wounded. It took away the fact that these inner children were still in the same places that they were in when I was being abused, right? So the trauma was just being replayed over and over in my mind all the time. And because I've been able to recreate this safe place for them and get them some help, and rescue them and set up a nurturing place, where they can feel loved and they can feel, safe and whatnot. It just changed the picture in my mind. So now, instead of looking back and thinking of myself as being, the 6-year-old or 7-year-old being abused, I'm looking at my 6 or 7-year-old who's now safe in this lovely environment, who's doing things that little children should be doing, which is coloring and playing and not worrying, and no fear. There's no fear in that place. There's no anger. There's no horrible stuff. So that's what that does. Is that just changes the picture, because the limbic system works in pictures. There's no language for it, and so that's what happens with that program. It really, really worked for me. Very, very helpful. And so I don't have the same feelings that I did even like I say, even like 6 months ago, or even 5 months ago. So it's nice to be on this side of it for sure. And it's quite interesting how it works. But, I'm still working through some things, you know what I mean? And I still want to, I'm still working on a lot of the negative programming really that I took on just from growing up in the environment that I did, and the negative self-talk, the negative the self stuff that self-loathing or anything that's left over, that I'm still kind of working on changing, because I still have some things to do. So that's why I'm continuing on here. I want to continue on to look at this stuff, because I'm still looking to finish this off, to feel better and to find my joy. And I really want to find joy. I don't understand what it is, because I didn't have it as a child. I know what it is. I know what it's supposed to be like to feel joyful. There's been moments in my life, times in my life when I feel joyful. Like, for instance, when I talk to my friends, I feel joyful. Like when I talk to my friends and, Gypsy Witch and other people, in my life who've been very, like my sweetheart, I can find joy in that. But the joy that I'm talking about is, obviously I love my friends very much. The joy that I'm talking about is joy that, is like this thing that when you wake up in the morning, there's this joy. I'm looking for that joy where on my own that I can experience about me, about being joyful about me, right? So I'm actually working on finding that, and eventually I'm pretty sure that I will find that. So there's just different things that I am working on still, and it's a progress. It's just a series of things that I need to just work on and slowly progress through is basically what I was trying to say there. So we're going to look at abuse, anger, and rage, and this is from Soul Expressions, AbuseRecovery.com. We finished up looking at the inner child healing last week, so I want to look at abuse, anger, and rage. It's the next portion of her website when you scroll down. And she talks quite a bit about abuse, anger, and rage, having a lot of anger and rage because of the abuse. I know that I did. A lot of that's gone now. When I first started my Blog Talk radio shows there 2 years ago, I had a lot of anger and a lot of rage still, even though some of it was gone, because 4.5 years ago I started my healing journey. And then, 2 years ago I started doing Blog Talk radio. So in between that 2 years, 2.5 years, I was actually able to get rid of a lot of it. But I still had quite a bit of rage and anger. But as I was working through the steps of anger and the process of working through anger here on the shows, which was a long time ago, probably a year ago at least, or at least a year or maybe 14 months ago, it really helped. It helped me to work through that stuff. And there is things that we can do, and Becky on her website from Soul Expressions Abuse Recovery talks about that. So Becky says, the most difficult emotion for me to deal with in my recovery, was abuse, anger. She says, I know that I suffered a lot of migraines, and I'm sure that it was because of my abuse, anger that I had not dealt with. She said, why? Because every time I would allow myself to feel angry, the sleeping beast with the rage beneath it would stir. And rage is something I had never allowed myself to feel. Why? Because I was terrified to allow myself to feel it. See, I totally relate to that. Like I was I had so much rage within me that I thought, man, if I let this loose, will I be able to psychologically come back from it? I mean, that's how raging I was. I was concerned that maybe I might go insane or something if I actually let that go. And I was also concerned that I might hurt myself or hurt somebody else. I didn't want to hurt anybody else, but I was mainly concerned I might hurt myself. And so I kind of just kept it, tucked away deep down inside there. And I knew I had this boiling rage, really, that needed to come out, I talk a lot about this on my shows. And basically what I did was, for me, I just let it go little by little by little, like a little pressure vent. Like I just basically just sort of, I guess you could just call it like a vent. I just let little bits come out at a time, and that way it was controlled rage, because I didn't want to trash my apartment, Like, I mean, I could picture myself just trashing my apartment. I've done that in the past, trash things, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all to do that, and you end up breaking your stuff, and you're mad because you broke all your stuff, and or breaking somebody else's stuff. That's not good. You know what I mean? There's better ways to deal with it, I think. You know what I mean? So she said she was afraid if she let go of that rage, it would totally engulf her body and she would die. I also had that fear myself. And really, she says, I didn't know exactly what would happen. I was just afraid of the unknown. All I know is that when I would start to feel angry, my body would tense up. I wanted to hit something, throw something, scream, just do something to someone. She says, I was not brought up that way. It's foreign to me. I told myself, you can't act that way. Well, I was brought up that way. Like when my mother was raging, she would hit me, right? When my mother was raging, she would hit my dad. Like she would hit anybody who happened to be in the near vicinity, right? So if my mother was in a rage, you had to watch yourself because anything was possible. And she would just lash out. Like my mother was the type that she was violent, very violent woman, and so was my dad. And so they taught us how to behave, right? So then when I was mad or angry or raging as a child, I would hit somebody. I would hit my friends, or I would throw things, break things. Then I'd get beaten and slapped around, and because my mother was, if she caught me doing it, but as I was just doing what I was taught to do, right? So that it was a very confusing message to me, because I was like, well, okay, you've shown me how to do this. Now you're gonna quote unquote punish me for my behaviors, you know what I mean? So I was very confused as a child, because I was like, well, you just taught me how to do this, and now you're beating me for it. And so then I developed a bit of a hatred for my parents, right? Especially for my mother. And I love my mother, but part of me hated her, because she created me. She created this monster of a child and then made me pay the price for it. And I knew that while it was happening. It was a very psychological twisting of the brain. I knew when it was happening, and I could see, I was smart enough as a child to understand what she was what was happening. I knew that. So by the time I was 10, I was like, go ahead and just kill me. I don't care. You've already screwed my life. You know what I mean? So whatever you want to do, just end it. And that's such a bad place to be as a child. So she says, I was rageful in my dreams. I would scream, yell, and try to fight my abuser, but my abuser would still laugh at me, and in the end, I had accomplished nothing. So this is Becky talking here. She says, and I would wake up in a sweat, feeling worn out and defeated. This went on, and I knew that I had to do something about it. So she says, my paintings were showing my abuse, anger, and my feelings of helplessness. Yet, yes, I felt totally helpless, because I was not expressing my abuse, anger, and rage in a way that was healthy. I was not getting it out. It was still controlling me, she says. So she says, I logically, as a therapist, knew all the ways to deal with abuse, anger, but somehow none of them were working for me. I was desperate. So I knew I had to get the rage off somehow. I read everything I could find on anger. Nothing seemed strong enough for me. And so she says, then I just decided I would do whatever it took, as long as I did not hurt myself or anyone else. That's it. So she said she needed a ritual, right? So she said, then I decided to let myself feel the rage in a safe place, and no matter what would happen, I would trust God that I would be all right. So she said, I was living alone at the time with my 2 cats, so I didn't have to worry about getting anyone out of the house. She locked the cats in their room and cleared out the living room of all glass things or valuable things. And she says, I left only the things that I wouldn't care if I destroyed them or not. I made sure that I would be safe. So I brought all the pictures of myself at the ages of my abuse, along with a lot of pillows, and I brought a lot of Kleenexes, lots of Kleenex. So I put a chair in the middle of the room and decided that it would be my abuser's chair. And this was my ritual part. I made sure there was a rug on the floor for fist pounding, just in case. And I brought my favorite stuffed animals. So she says, yes, I had stuffed animals. I'm not ashamed to say it. And she says, then I was ready. I sat on my sofa and pretended to talk to my abuser, and I told one, then the other exactly how angry I was for them hurting me and taking away my innocence and childhood. And the angry monster began to stir, and the rage began to come to the surface. I kept talking, turned into yelling. I started throwing pillows at the chair. I started hitting the pillows. I screamed at the chair, pounded my fists on the rug. I stomped my feet. I basically threw a temper tantrum. And it went on for about 20 minutes until I burst into tears and sobbed. I grabbed my stuffed animals and hugged them and rocked with them as I cried. And they were my comfort, and I needed comfort. I cried and cried. I can't tell you for how long. It seemed like days. I can say I cried till there were no more tears. She says, I felt limp, no energy, no anger left, just peace for the moment. I savored it. It took me a moment to comprehend, but then I realized I was still there. The rage had not destroyed me. I actually smiled, a tired smile, but a victory smile. I had tamed the beast within, just like a girl in my painting with the lion. I had made peace with my rage, she says. And abuse anger does not just disappear after one night. I had made enormous progress, however, and I knew that it was okay to feel anger, and I knew that from that night on I could write about it and actually get it out that way a little, and there were other ways too. Talking about it with friends and other survivors helped too, she says. And over time, my dreams began to change. That's awesome. Well, that's kind of, that's what I've done that, but not to heal. I've just thrown fits of rage, in my past and destroyed things and trashed things and trashed places, that I was living in. And, it didn't really help because I wasn't focusing on my abusers, even though really that's where it came from, was just from being abused as a child. So I didn't do any of that abuse type anger stuff, releasing rage that way. But what I did do was I sort of worked through it just little by little, piece by piece, allowing myself to feel what I needed to feel, and also writing what happened to me as a child has been very, very helpful. Whether I had journaled it and just kept it private, or what, because many people will do that and just journal and keep it private. And if you don't want to, confront your abuser because it's not safe, because you do have to be very careful about that. Or let's say your abuser's no longer around, like both of my abusers, my main abusers are dead, so. I could have wrote what I needed to write and then torn it up or saved it or whatever, or gone through a ritual and just stomped on it and burned it or whatever. But the thing is I really wanted, because this is what I'm doing is speaking publicly about child abuse, I really wanted people to know what happened to me as a child and to my family, so I published the stuff, But first it was a blog. I just did a public-facing blog, and I wanted people to know what happened to me because my inner child was screaming out. Don't let them get away with this. Don't let mom get away with what she did to me. Don't let dad get away with what he did. Don't let brother get away with what he did. Even though it took me a while to get around writing that story. But what happened to me is being sexually abused, right? Incredibly difficult to deal with. But I knew I was going to have to deal with it, and at some point, right? Because it was going to continue to manifest and destruct within my life if I didn't deal with it. I knew eventually I was going to have to, and so I thought, well, why not? Let's just do it. But first, I had to deal with the stuff that I was able to deal with, which was looking at what my parents did to me and what I suffered as a child at their hands, and just the destruction of my family, right? And then after that was dealt with, I thought, okay, I'll deal with the CSA and incest now, and that was a big job. It was a hard thing to deal with, and I mean, even like 2 months ago, like 3 months ago, I was still having body memories and all kinds of issues. And because I wrote it, got it out of my system, like I feel so much better because I'm no longer carrying that around by myself. I no longer feel like I'm that trapped little child, who's gagged and bound, tied up and gagged, can't speak and just living in silence and living in fear as a young child growing up and being forced to deal with that, being sexually abused, it was very helpful for me to come out and break the silence, right? And whether that's with a friend or you just, like I said, you just journal it and then tear it up or whatever you do. But I've heard from so many other survivors out here that say that journaling has helped them out. They journaled and, then kept the journals, or if they were afraid that somebody might find the journals and they really didn't want anybody to find them, they would just write them out, everything they want to say to the abuser, everything that, that they want to say about the abuse, and how it affected them, or whatever a person wants to do as far as journaling goes. It's clearly your choice. Then they tore the journal up, or they burned it in a bit of a ceremony, right? And I've heard so many people. I mean, because I know a lot of survivors. So many of my friends, and survivor friends, have said that was very helpful for them. And I can say for me, it really made a huge difference, because that inner child, those inner children of mine, I mean, really all the points that I was wounded as a child, were screaming out saying, "Don't let these people get away with this, man. The world needs to know what they did to me." That was my 7-year-old, my 8-year-old. The world needs to know what they did to me. The 9-year-old, the 10-year-old. Like all the way through, 6 years old, 5 years old. All of them were screaming out, "Don't allow us to go to our graves and no one know what happened to us." Right? That was horrible. I mean, they really wanted. Just by having my story told, that's justification for me, because what it does is because there's no way I can really go back and get justification or justice for what happened to me. But the thing is that's justice enough, because what it does is it shows you what kind of people my parents were, what kind of a person my brother was, to be able to do what they did to me. Completely evil and twisted, you know what I mean? So that's my justice, is to say, you know what, that's what I grew up with, you know what I mean? That's what I was given as a child, this lovely gift of abuse and maltreatment and sexual abuse, and that's it's really my justice to be able to break the silence and walk free from the shame, because the shame doesn't belong to me. It belongs to my abusers, that's their shame, not mine, and what it did was it freed me then to say that, hey, you know what, I can do this. I can, I don't have to live under that shadow of the abuse, you know what I mean? I don't have to. This was 4.5 years ago. I was sitting there thinking, why do I have to continue on living this way, in this painful, horrible, dark place? Why am I still doing this? Why am I not getting help? Other people are getting help. I mean, I could see that. I was a grown woman. I was 41 years old. And I'm like, other people get help, why can't I get help? What? Who says that I can't get help? You know what I mean? Like, what? I deserve to get help. So I started to realize that was the truth, and that I shouldn't be having to, to internalize this pain, and it shouldn't have to be mine to carry. You know what I mean? My God, I carried it a long time, and my inner children really carried it while I went on to work and did other things. My inner self, those wounded parts of myself, carried that for a long, long time. And so by writing it down and journaling it, it really did help me a lot. And so that took the place of a lot of the rage that needed to come out, because a lot of the rage that I had was really because I couldn't get out what I needed to get out. And so I didn't feel the need to punch pillows or bash chairs or, beat things up at all. I didn't feel the need to do that. But what I did want to do was go out in the middle of the field and scream. And I think that really comes from being sexually abused, because my brother gagged me and put a gag on me, and I couldn't scream. And I think I carried that with me for obviously forever, and since from the age of 8 years old on. And so I really wanted to go out into the middle of a field somewhere where people wouldn't think I was being killed or murdered. If I did that here in my apartment, people would think I was being killed. They'd probably call the cops, right? It has to be someplace where people aren't going to hear you, because otherwise people, I would phone the police if I heard somebody screaming so I need to do that in a place where it's okay to do that. But I always did think that would be very, very helpful, to go out and just scream, But my vocal cords are really not that great anymore, and I didn't want to hurt my vocal cords any more than they already are. But I really wanted to leave, to sort of let that go, But my scream came in the form of a book called One Child Abuse Survivor to Another, The Journey, that I just published, and that's my scream. I actually detailed the abuse, and it's very much explicit material. It's for adults only, and the book is I didn't sugarcoat anything. I just told it like it was, and it's very explicit, and what it did was it freed my inner child, because my 8-year-old says, as much as she didn't want the world to know what happened to her, because it's embarrassing, to her, she was a child, right? But to me, I'm sitting there thinking, this needs to be told, People like to think of child sexual abuse as it's 3 words: child sexual abuse. Well, it's not 3 words. It's pain and torture and torment and it's it's molestation. It's abuse. It's torture. And it's not good. It's not healthy. It's not pleasant. Children should be allowed to be children. And so I thought, I'm not going to sit here and just say, oh, I was abused as a child sexually. I mean, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to tell it like it happened. You know what I mean? Because I want people to know what a child will go through being raped or sodomized or incest and whatnot, and the fact that many children will not get help. Many times there will not be anybody in the family that will help that child, and we know this to be true. If you're a survivor and you've gone through it, so many of us will not get help, as children, obviously, and we have to learn how to deal with this stuff as adults, and many of us can't, and that's why we have so many problems as adult survivors trying to deal with this stuff, right? Because it never should have happened in the first place, right? And that kind of trauma, is so incredibly hard on people, right? And so when I decided to go ahead and write the book, like this last 6 months or so, last 7 months, I sat down with one mission, and that was to be as honest as I could be, and to allow myself to experience it, because I wanted to deal with it and then heal from it. Because I had never allowed myself to do that, because I pushed it away. I didn't want to even look at it. I didn't want to know about it. Like, I didn't even want to see it, because, it's traumatic and it's tragic and it never should have happened. But yet my inner child was saying, look what he did to me. Look what he did to me. She was still wounded. She was still in that bedroom, actually. I left her there. She was there for a long time, locked in that dark bedroom with no lights and with wounding gags, still suffering. That was my little 8-year-old, right? And so when I wrote the book, what it did was she's free now. She's free. I went and I did the visualization work of going in and saving her and rescuing her and getting her to that safe place that where all my inner children are. And she's in such a better place. So see, I'm in such a better place, because I'm no longer suffering in that. Like, I don't have the same body memories that I was having. I don't have the same issues that I was having, because I've actually gone ahead and done the work on it. And thank God I had friends there to help me do it, and Gypsy Witch was one of them, my main support and help. And without that, I don't know if I would have been as successful. But the thing is it's important, if we're, for all survivors of abuse, whatever help you decide to get. Like, I can't tell you what help to go get, but whatever you do, make sure you get some help. If you decide, like, well, counseling is for me, well, then go, get some help. Or if you think, well, no, I'm a group support person, well, get some group support. Or if you're just a self-help person with a couple of friends, well, do the self-help, get the friends, because, man, I'm telling you, we so did not deserve that. We so did not deserve to be abused. And if you were abused, in any way, right? Any type of abuse is just incredibly so wrong, and, if you were abused as a child and you're still having a hard time, it's really up to us to get help, It really is our choice. It's our decision as adults to get help. And I knew that when, especially 4.5 years ago, that's, April will be 5 years, really, which was great. But, whatever it is that works for you, that's what you need to do. Find out what's going to work for you. Try a few different things. Try some group support. Try a counselor. See what works for you if you haven't done it. And make sure you get some support, because really what it is, it's a support system. And everybody needs a support system, you know what I mean? And especially people who have been so wounded and so, really so destroyed by the abuse that they suffered. I know there's people that I'm through worse than myself, you know what I mean? And suffering on, it's absolutely horrific that we would allow ourselves to do this, but we do, because we don't trust anybody. And so, in doing that, we keep ourselves, perpetually in this state of not being able to heal, not being able to work through our issues. So whatever you do, there's good information out there. Be sure and seek it out, search it out, find out what works for you, and then allow yourself to do it. You know what I mean? Because I know 4.5 years ago, I was like, finally, I'm gonna do the right thing as an adult and get myself some help. You know, instead of killing myself or self-injuring, I'm going to get myself some help. So we'll finish this article up tomorrow. Take another look at it and finish this up. We're about halfway through the page there. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. You know, have a great day. Take good care of yourself. You know, don't give up. Like, if you're having a hard time and you think, man, I can't cope, you know, I just don't know what I'm going to do, you know, if you have to, you phone a crisis line. Whatever you do, you absolutely do not give up. People on the other end of the crisis line will be people like myself. Sitting there because they want to help people and they want to help you know, one person that day, and so, you know, that's why they're doing it. It's not for the money. Those things don't pay, and they don't pay very well, even if they do pay. People like me would be sitting on the other end of the crisis line because they've been there and they know how hard it is. And so, you know, if you're having a hard time and you can't cope, you know, you do something. You call a friend, but if you don't have a friend to call, then you call a crisis line, but you do not give up, not ever, not ever. That is not an option. Do not make that an option. Just don't allow that to be an option, because that's, you know, I'm so thankful that I'm still here, and I used to not be this way. You know, I used to be the opposite, right? And so I'm so thankful that I did not kill myself like my two brothers and, you know, and other people. I actually know a couple other people who killed themselves. I'm thankful to be here today. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful for all the people who have not given up on me and for all the people that have been here with me through this journey, you know, because they are surely my family. And I'm grateful to be here today, you know, and I'm thankful to my God, you know. So do whatever you have to do, but do the right thing and get yourself some help, you know what I mean? Because you know, it is our responsibility and we so deserve to have a good life, right? Have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk to you later. I'll be back on tonight at 10 o'clock, and then again tomorrow morning. We'll pick this back up tomorrow. Take good care. Talk to you soon.